Hello everyone, this is Remlays from 40k Theories, and welcome to the January 2023 edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you would like your questions answered, then click the link in the video description below and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Now, let's jump into the questions. Griffin of Might asks, are there any 40k video games that you would like to see get remade? Yes, remake Final Liberation and Rights of War please. Though if you do remake Final Liberation, you have to keep the live action cutscenes because they are absolutely incredible. It's the law, I'm sorry. Which Ultima Founding chapter would you like to see get more lore? Dark Krakens. Yeah, Dark Krakens I reckon is a good call, yeah. Voice of the Emperor asks, what happened to Mortarian's scythe between the Great Crusade and the Plague Wars? The current one looks different. Did he simply get a new one from Nurgle, or is it a simple artistic license thing? I think it is artistic license because if I remember correctly, Dark Imperium says that Silence being the name of Mortarian's scythe, was unchanged since the days of the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy, so it probably is just artistic license, yeah. Pentadeuce asks, if you were to add a new faction, what would it be? I'm assuming you mean in terms of tabletop, which if that's the case, it won't so much be a faction but several factions grouped into one, that being a 40k equivalent to Dogs of War, you know, that Warhammer Fantasy Army book that detailed mercenaries and stuff like that. Because not only could you have mercenaries such as, you know, Orc freebooters, Eldari pirates, squat mercenaries etc, but you could also use it to introduce new races such as Torellian dog soldiers or, you know, a Horad Chrono team or stuff like that. I think that would be pretty cool, yeah. If you were to remove a current faction, which would it be and why? Necrons. Just because of how convoluted their lore is, just get rid of the fuckers. Oh, there's going to be a couple of people who hate me for that one. I'm sorry. Brent Feast asks, if you were in charge of taking every Warhammer Fantasy faction that doesn't already have a 40k equivalent and giving them one, what are some examples of how you would go about it? Okay, so let's see what we have. The Empire is the Imperium, Orcs are Orcs, Dwarves are Squats, Elves are Eldari, Dark Elves are Drukhari, Undead are Necrons, Lizardmen, you have the Slan already in 40k, so what does that leave? It's just Skaven, isn't it? If it's just Skaven, I'd probably do something similar to the games Dead Zone and Warpath with the Viamin faction, because the Viamin are basically just, you know, Skaven in a 40k type setting. So I'd probably just do something similar to that. If I actually need to read some more Dead Zone lore, in fact. Thanks for reminding me, I'll get to that later. The only example of some sort of translation technology I've ever seen in 40k was a device used by a Harlequin troop in Heirs of the Laughing God. How did the other species of 40k deal with the language barriers between them? Well, the Tau make use of universal translators. In fact, battlesuits are known to have them equipped as standard. As for the other races, some will just simply learn the languages of other species. Like in the Ghazghkull Fracker novel for instance, you have a Bloodaxe freebooter who acts as a translator for the Inquisition when they're interrogating Mikari. So yeah, that's how they do it. Zero Hits asks, a Watcher in the Dark just mugged you and stole your wallet. Who do you file a complaint with? The manager, obviously. Duh. Talacinamel asks, what do you think could have happened to the Tau if the Great Crusade succeeded? Would they become a client state or just wiped out? Probably the latter, considering that when the Imperium first discovered the Tau homeworld, they were planning on eradicating the Tau just to, you know, make way for human colonization. So if the Great Crusade discovered the world of Tau, you know, and the warp storm that separated it from the galaxy didn't occur, the Tau would have most likely just been wiped out. And finally, Richard Martin asks, what is your favourite variation of worship of the Emperor? I don't really have one, sorry. Yeah, so I can't really answer that because I don't have one. Sorry. Is Christmas a thing in 40k? Christmas specifically? No. However, there are a bunch of religious holidays that can be considered comparable. because you have Sanguinala, you have the Feast of the Emperor's Ascension, and you have Emperor's Day among others. Now if I had to pick one of them, I'd say it would be Emperor's Day, because in the novel 15 Hours, it's stated to be the one day a year that members of the Administratum get off work. So I reckon that would probably be your closest equivalent. If you had to choose a character to be Santa for the Imperium, who would you choose? Logan Grimnar, because he has a beard and he has a sleigh. He's already Santa. And that concludes this edition of the Patreon Q&A sessions. As always, if you would like your questions answered, then click the link in the video description below and help support the channel by becoming a patron. Until next time, this has been Remlays from 40k Theories, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye!